Hi, welcome back to my channel. Now, this book review is for a book that I read back in January. It is now April, but the book doesn't come out until the end of May. So I'm going to make this video now and just schedule it for when the book is released. This is a book by Lori Foster called The Honeymoon Cottage. Now, here's the thing. There are certain authors like James Patterson, Lori Foster, Catherine Coulter, Riley Sager, and a few others where I try to get to those books as soon as I can, or J.D. Robb. Now, I do have to say that I've got Riley Sager, Ruth Ware, Catherine Coulter, and I haven't read those three, but they're going to get read months before they're actually released because there's just certain authors that I have to read right away. So when I got The Honeymoon Cottage back in January, knowing that it doesn't come out until the middle of the year, I absolutely had to read it. So the review is on Goodreads and it's on NetGalley. It's scheduled to go live on my blog on May 24th, and I will also schedule it to go live on this channel on May 24th. But I am working through my queue, and this came up in my queue as a video that I need to make. So without any further ado, what is The Honeymoon Cottage? Well, it's the first book in the Cemetery, Indiana series by Ms. Foster. Now, I love her series, and before I even go into the review, I thought I would do something, which I do it a lot, is I'm going to go to Goodreads to populate the books that I have read by her and to tell you how much I love this author. There's two authors that I have read over 60 of their books, and that is James Patterson and Lori Foster. Now, it's currently making my list. So let's see. Oh, it doesn't give me a count. "24, 26, 28, 32, 4, 6, 8, 42, 4, 6, 8, 52, 4, 6, 8, 62, 4, 6, 8, 72, 4, 6, 8, 82, 4, 6, 8, 90. I have read 90 of her books. So I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to do something on Goodreads and make it a scroll and bring it into this video. So that's how I feel about Lori Foster. Okay, so back to the review. We are going to read the blurb, and it's a short one. It says, from New York Times bestselling Lori Foster, an all-new romantic family saga for fans of Jill Shalvis, whom I read a lot of her books, Lori Wilde, and Sarah Morgan. In The Honeymoon Cottage, locals of a quirky small town help an on-the-shelf wedding planner find her own happily ever after. Wedding planner Yardley Ballinger has resigned herself to spinsterhood while organizing other people's happy endings. An all-new heartwarming story of second chances at life and love with summer weddings, a lakeside cottage for honeymooners, best friends, and a rescued dog. Set in the quirky small town of Cemetery, Indiana. Get this, population 827. Sounds fun, doesn't it? It is. So I'm going to cheat. This is my book review that I wrote back in January, and I'm just pretty much going to go over what I wrote back in January. Now, like I said, the small town of Cemetery only has 827 residents. But as I wrote in my review, the residents have very big hearts, and the one with the biggest heart is Yardley Ballinger, and she's a wedding planner, and she goes to the, as far as she can to make other people happy. She will bring together the most deserving of couples to lead them to a happily ever after. However, it's not on the cards for her. As a matter of fact, the blurb calls her an on-the-shelf wedding planner. Yes, she has not found her own love. Now, in this wedding that Yardley is planning, it's for a woman named Sheena. And even though, like, I read this book months ago, and I probably have read 120, 130 books since I read this, a lot of it's still up there. Well, Sheena has a brother named Travis. They lost their parents at some time, and Travis has always taken care of his little sister. So he wants her to have the best day of her life. He'll give her the best. He wants it to be perfect, and he wants to work with Yardley to give Sheena the wedding of her dreams. Now, it doesn't take long before it's evident that Yardley and Travis share an attraction. They're very drawn to one another. And now Yardley begins to wonder, is love in the cards for me? Is it possible? Well, in this touching story, according to my review, there's a lot of layers. Yardley making brides happy, the very warm and loving and caring relationship between Travis and Sheena, and then the developing romance between Yardley and Travis. And then you've got the town cemetery. Oh my goodness. I've never lived in a small town, but I could just picture myself living in this town. I can picture the homes, I can picture the front yards, and that's the feeling that you get when you're reading this book. And then, it makes you want to read more books in the series. Now, Yardley did find her happily ever after, and just like every single book I read by Laurie Foster, I was made quite happy with this book. I am going to nip over to Fantastic Fiction to see if book cemetery. I just want to see if book 2 has been at least announced. No. When I go to thing, it just says one book. Okay. Now, I want to also tell you something. I'm on Laurie Foster's street team. So if there's a book by her, I will get a copy of it. So, for example, the next book I will be reading by Laurie Foster is In Bloom. And In Bloom is an anthology. I think it's Carolyn Brown, Laurie Foster, and I can't remember the third author. So I will always get her books early. And believe me, when I get book number 2 in this series, I'll be reading it right away. So like I said, this review is a little different because I read the book months ago, and I'm not even going to put the review up right away, but I did want to make this video so that when the book is released, a little bit of hype can be made for the book to invite people to want to read it. All right, that's it for now. Bye-bye.